I want to draw 10 disks side by side with increasing radius so that they're tangent to each other. And the first step is to make a list that contains a description of these 10 different disks. So I make that list using the table command, and I'm going to go for I from 1 up to 10. And then what do I want to be in the ith position in my list? I want the thing in the ith position to be some disk with radius I. So let me do that. Remember that disk takes two inputs, the center and the radius. So let me do the radius. And the center we have to think about a little bit more. Let me actually start out by making it incorrectly. So let me say the center is at I0. So that's like saying center 1, 0, center 2, 0, so on all the way up to 10, 0. So there we go. That made the list. And let me name it. Let me call it my list. And let me put a semicolon after it so it doesn't get printed. And now let's try drawing it. We draw it using the graphics command. So I can tell that something really went wrong. What went wrong? Well, let me try to demonstrate it by putting in a little more details to our list. So instead of just having all of these disks have the same color, let me change the hue for them. So instead of having the ith entry in the list be just a disk, let me have it be a little sublist, where the sublist first describes a hue and then says, what is the thing that I want to be that hue? Okay, so the first thing is the color. Second thing is the disk that's going to have that color. And right now this isn't very good because hue 1 is the exact same as hue 2 is the exact same as hue 10. Remember, all that it cares about is what comes after the decimal point. So if I want these hues to be changing, I should really divide them by 10. So now it's going to be 0.1, 0.2, up to 1. So the hue changed, but I still only see one disk, and remember I wanted to see 10 total disks, all side by side and with increasing radius for the 10 disks. So to give you a hint of what went wrong, let me show you what happens if I reverse my list. So I draw them in opposite order. So when I tell it to draw and then I give it a list, it always draws the first one, then the second one, all the way up to the 10th one. So here, by drawing the biggest one first, that's like drawing this dark red one first. Okay, then it draws this little smaller one, then this little smaller one, and so on. And so the problem that came up was that when I draw the biggest one, that's actually on top of the others, and I don't want it to be on top of the others. I want them to be side by side and tangent to each other. So here I guess they are tangent to each other, but not in the way that I meant. I want them to be going, start with the smallest one, and then I want to shift this yellow one over. Okay, so let me try it just a little bit at a time, and then I'll try to find the pattern. So let me do new list. And this one I don't see the pattern yet, so let me just try making it one piece at a time. So let me forget about the hues and just draw the disks. So disk, I definitely want it to be starting at 1, 0 and with radius 1. And the next one, well, if I do disk 2, 0, radius 2. Okay, well, we've seen up here that that doesn't work. Here's the 2, 0 point, radius 2, so going back to 0. So that doesn't quite work. Let's try center at 3, 0. Okay, and let's draw it. So graphics, new list. So that's still not quite right. Let's try increasing the x-coordinate by one more. So I did it in the wrong place. Let me do it up here. There, that's perfect. So let's try the next one. So let's think about it. This point is 1, 0. This point is 2, 0. What's this center point? Well, it's 2 plus 2, which is 4. So what's this point? This point is 6, 0. And then I want the next one to have radius 3. So if I start at 6, 0, and I add 3 to it in the x direction, then I get 9, 0. So let me write that up here. Disk 9, 0, radius 3. There, that's perfect. They're side by side and they're all tangent to each other. And maybe you can see what the pattern is now. Well, the radius pattern is what I always thought. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10 is what I eventually want to do. Center points, I don't think there's any easy way to see it's going to be this in advance. Just try small cases and then figure it out. 1, 4, 9. What's the pattern? Well, this is 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared. Okay, so let's go back up here, and instead of saying the center is I0, let's say the center is I squared 0. And now I don't need this reverse anymore. That was just to show you that they were getting printed one on top of each other. So now let's do graphics, my list. There we go. Now they're all side by side and tangent to each other.